All right, it's Friday, February 3rd. This is an end of the day and end of the week SPY recap. Today we end up with a two down day that looks like it's a bit of a shooter bar to the downside. But at the moment, it remains to be seen if this really is such a negative development. I've seen a lot of shooter bars and uptrends that end up coming down and then having hammer bars to the upside. So we still have to monitor for a bunch of things before we can determine what's really going on. There's some interesting big picture context in play here. We've run up nicely on the daily chart for a while. On the weekly chart, the key thing is, and we've been monitoring this for like 5 weeks, we finally reached some key targets up here. And this is kind of a fair value gap that we went into more, mostly yesterday and the day before. And now you can see on the weekly chart, we kind of sell off a little bit towards the end. So we have to determine now, is this an area where once you reach a target, are you either going to continue with a lot of momentum all the way to the next target, or do you pause here and then continue up there, or is this a failure where you head down? And to me, like I've been saying, I'm not going to consider it a failure until this weekly chart turns negative, and that would require a 2 down week next week, which is kind of a long way away, but it's certainly possible. And in the meantime, I drew this red line. That's kind of the midpoint of this week. So any downward movement next week, I would like to see, it kind of maybe open but below the midpoint of that. We're kind of starting here and go right below the midpoint of the prior week into a 2 down. So if some certain days develop, if we get a big gap down, then that's a whole, we're negative right out of the gates. If not, then I just kind of want to see if our daily signals maybe begin to forecast that we're going to get a 2 down week. I'd go with those, but I'm not, I just have to that's what I'd be monitoring for. Also, this yellow line is the open of the month here. So you'd want to see us get below there to really turn this month red. So a whole bunch of negative things have to follow through in order to really be negative. On the other hand, we could certainly just probe down here and then come right up and be positive, and we could start up on Monday and be positive. So, and that'll show you that this breakout on the weekly chart, let me go back to it again, is kind of is holding. A lot of times that's the thing. You want to be in before you reach these targets. Once you get to these targets, that's where you expect pauses or volatility. It could be reversals, it could not, but pause is very common, and therefore you want to determine if you just pause and really can't break down, then that's exciting to continue long. So those are the things we'll be looking for in the days and weeks ahead. But for today, I just wanted to show you that we were gapping down pretty big on the jobs report. I discussed how that might be a little negative, since we had room to fill in down here, and I was looking biased right out of the gates, maybe to the downside if we would have followed through. But instead, we get this big green bar to start, so I bought some calls up here. And then I shot some videos how this was a target, pre-market highs up in here, and then we came down. We couldn't do the follow through, and I shot another video explaining why I bought some puts here, and then we came down on the day as well and took out the intraday lows, and then we kind of settled down there. So that's what today was in terms of price action. Again, what you want to see on the strongest momentum moves is breaking above kind of the high of the day and then getting 2 moves. I keep things very simple, at least for the way I like to look at things. I'm always looking at the first directional move of the day, whatever intraday high or low is made there, then a pause and maybe a secondary move. That's how I judge everything. So in this case, when you got the first move and the secondary move couldn't break through the high of the day, that was a potential to go short if other things were in play that you felt good about. But if you look at other stocks like Apple here, for example, this stock starts up strong on the first green bar above the high of the pre-market range, above yesterday's high. So therefore, it's a bit of a stronger stock for follow through. Even though you didn't get the 2 pushes up, this is the type of buys you really want to get excited for in the directional moves, versus one that starts near the bottom of the range and kind of eventually works to the top and doesn't even take out yesterday's high. That's one of the reasons why on a failure move here you could try to get short if you think the context is in play to get short. And I shot a video why I thought we might get a little bit of this type of downward action towards the afternoon. But anyway, and then another example too, if I go to my list and just let's say I scan for the stocks that were down today, the biggest stocks that were down, And look at some of them, like Costco, for example. Let's say you look at that stock. You could see it was like a 2 down day here, but right out of the gates, this stock went red right below its pre-market lows. And that's why this one, once it rallied and couldn't get above there, this was a stock that was much weaker than other stocks like Apple that went up big and others. So that's why you got to kind of judge that pre-market range and the opening price action. I've shot many videos on that. So getting back to the SPY, again, shooter bar, likely a bar like this could follow through a little lower tomorrow, but it's still a gap in here that could maybe hold support, and we can hold above the midpoint, we can hold above the yellow line, and maybe reverse up at some point into the week as well. So we're just going to have to see where things open. But for today, it was kind of, even though you were biased to the downside, the first price action kind of had you, looking positive or to the long side. I bought calls here, but as it turns out, the pre-market highs was the target, and that was it. We never quite, were able to get that outside day to the upside, and that was kind of, like I said, it wasn't so surprising that you failed and really came down. So anyway, that's what it is for today. We will see the weekly chart. Key thing here, context-wise, are we failing at this level after we reach our target, or are we just pausing and maybe starting higher to higher targets? That's what we'll find out in the days and weeks ahead.